Hi, this is video number 287. Well, last night I got to sleep in the horizontal position in my bed. That was real nice after the previous 2 nights of sleeping on the easy chair with my feet hanging over and the light in my face and the air conditioner terrorizing me all night. That was nice to sleep flat last night in a nice bed. So that was nice. We're back to the hazy, hot, humid weather again here. It was we had a few days that were like nice and breezy and cool, and some rain on I think it was Friday, but now we're back to the 3 H's again here. So last day of July, maybe we got one more really hot month here, and then we'll see what happens. Had a good bit of stuff to do this morning, a lot of bookkeeping for the church. It's the time of, I think it's every 5 years we have to do the sales tax exemption thing. And usually when it's time to do that, the state will send the forms kind of late to fill out, which they did again this year. Plus they sent it to the pastor, and he held on to them for a couple months. So I just got them. He has to fill in a few more things yet. But we also got the letter that we got with it saying we have an extension till the end of the year. So I'm getting people we do business with, companies we do business with. They want to know, we need to see your exemption, or we're going to have to start charging you tax. So I had to mess with that today. I sent a bunch of those letters out giving us the temporary extension. So that took a long time. Got to do a workout again this morning. That was nice. Listened to my jazz with the workout. Mowed the lawn, which was hard because it was hot already by the time I got out there. So lawn looks good. The Vincas look extra good when the grass is mowed. They're really getting big. They look really good. See, I have a lot of messages to answer that aren't benzo related, things that having to do with my family and Harold and so forth. I gotta get to those later today. I want to contact the person, one of the people that gave the story about having that stellate ganglion block, and they were good for a while, and then it faded, and then they were good again after a second one. I want to get with that person and start going over some ideas, because they certainly will be interested, because they are actually still in withdrawal. But they did have those 2 episodes where it was better. I think like the window wave thing and that particular story, and that in particular, that story, that's the one. Maybe we can get the ball rolling here. I hope so. Okay, and then tomorrow there's supposed to be a viewing for my sister, a private viewing, and then Wednesday will be the funeral and so forth. My son and daughter are actually going to go. They didn't really know. They don't know my side of the family all that well. They're much closer to my wife's side of the family, but they said they would go for me. I certainly didn't, twist their arm. I can understand why, they're not close to my side of the family, because my side of the family has not historically been real close. We care about each other and we love each other, but we just don't get together all that often. So they said they would do it for me. So that's cool. That's nice. Okay, let me see. I have a Facebook message which I responded to, an email message which I responded to. Then he wrote another email which I want to talk about some. A sort of a different kind of subject that he wrote about, and then another email, and this probably won't be a real long video, which yesterday's makes up for that, I think, because it was like 40 minutes or something. Okay, let me see. The first one here has to do with the endocrine system. Okay, hi Dawn, hope things are as well as expected your side of the pond. Okay, can I please ask more about the endocrine system, as I cannot see how this can correct itself, and that is why I'm still so sick. My wonky thyroid results are probably to do with my constantly elevated cortisol. My results themselves on the surface look normal. However, the level of reverse T3 are sky high, which are giving me hypothyroid symptoms, even though I'm not hypothyroid. This happens due to continued stress levels, so I've learned. I just don't know how this can improve. It's like a vicious cycle. I think I could accept more in the second years, but now I feel I'm deteriorating. I know I'm searching for answers. It's been a long and it's been so long, and my personality is one of this nature. Does all this make sense about the questions I'm asking about the endocrine system? I know you are obviously not an endocrinologist. If I knew others had been like this and recovered, I could accept more. It seems that the more stress, the worse it gets. Yet the stress is constant. I worry all the triggering at work with it being a psych environment is not helping, or should that not matter and I still will recover. I feel so ill right now, it's scary. Typical too that endocrine illness is treated badly too and highly underdiagnosed. Sorry I'm back again. This was a little bit later, but should I have a pituitary test possibly? I'm freaking out as I've stupidly been Googling. I have all symptoms of pituitary dysfunction. I'm so sorry for freaking so much. Just can't see this getting better. Yeah, Googling is not a good idea when you're feeling bad, because benzo withdrawal mimics all kinds, like dozens of different conditions and illnesses and diseases and stuff. Many of the conditions and diseases, that the human conditions and diseases, have the same sorts of symptoms, so it's really hard without empirical data like your blood tests and so forth, levels of different kinds of things in your body. It's very, very hard to diagnose a lot of things. And a lot of the things that they diagnose as diseases, especially way back Lyme, the primary method of diagnosing was the symptoms. So that's gotten better, but that seems to be the case. Anyway, okay, my response was very short, and I'll talk more about this after I do this. Hi, I think one of the biggest problems in getting various tests done, endocrine system and others, is that once you have the results, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to know what they mean. The reason is simply that benzo withdrawal affects the endocrine system and the levels of various hormones, so that it is virtually impossible to interpret the results until benzo withdrawal is over. Okay, that's a pretty general response, basically saying that the benzos and the withdrawal from benzos affects every system in your body. It puts everything out of whack. So it's really hard to compare the level of anything to what would be a normal condition, condition for the human body without first being out of benzo withdrawal. You can't, because benzo withdrawal, everything's all over the map in benzo withdrawal. Okay, the cortisol. She talked about cortisol. Okay, cortisol is it's a hormone. I think it's a steroid hormone actually. And cortisol can be all over the map. And I'll be talking about that in the last email I talk about here. I talk about cortisol, but cortisol, it makes you very, very uncomfortable. I think anxiety, stress, and so forth raise cortisol levels. Lots of anxiety and stress and withdrawal. So it only stands to reason cortisol is going to be high. And as far as like the thyroid and pituitary and so forth, I mean, people get things checked all the time, but I mean, you get the results, but then what? You could tell what they mean if you didn't have, a withdrawal, if you weren't going through a withdrawal, but it's just very hard to make any sense of anything until withdrawal is over. Okay, and like the first 2 years, she's saying she could accept that and it would, be okay, but now that she's in the next year, it's harder. There are lots of people in the third year, and I'm not trying to freak anyone out. And I think there are reasons for that. That's why it's so important to learn. The GABAergic system is involved for sure. That's how this starts at least. But I think there is something more. I think there's something quite basic, something, that if we can get it figured out, we can make strides in actually reversing withdrawal. And I think it can be done. It obviously can be done at least for a number of days. There are stories of people who had like that block and so forth done, and boom, they're well. But then the symptoms come back, and I think there is certainly a reason for that. I've talked about it, the nerve growth factor. I think that's what pretty much this is all about. But I'm going to explore that more here soon, hopefully. I do hope to write something to someone and try to get some sort of response, and I think I will, because this particular person, they had success with it. It was short-lived, but they're still in withdrawal, so they might be willing to explore this with me. They would be the first one to do so if they do. Okay, let me see. The Googling thing and looking at things online, it's kind of like going into the groups too, Benzo Buddies and different ones, and reading all of the stuff you can read. It's bad idea, bad idea. I've talked about that lots of times. Okay, the next one. It's an email. Let me see how much time I have here. Okay, 10 minutes so far. Okay, I'm 37 months off after a bad cold turkey of 7 milligrams of Valium taken less than 20 months and a bad reinstatement 2 months later on 4.5 milligrams, which went bad and rapid tapered in 3 months. I severely kindled and never recovered 37 months later, still having, so I am stuck with severe acute withdrawal symptoms, insomnia, depersonalization, akathisia, severe anxiety, severe muscle, and all sort of weird body problems. My body is shutting down from the severity and long-lasting symptoms. What can I do at this point? Do you know people who healed this far out? I'm really scared. I'm only 29 years old. Okay, and I did respond. Hi, I have read many stories like yours in which it seems like the severe suffering has gone on forever and will never end. I know it's hard to remember what it's like to feel well and that it's not possible to heal, but you are healing, just not feeling it yet. Many people heal in the 3rd and 4th year. I know it's hard to keep hoping, but it does pay off in time. Every day your body is doing what it needs to do to be well again. Your brain is rewiring and will eventually resolve the problem. When you get to this side of healing, life is amazing. I know it's hard, but keep reaching out to others until you get to this side. The symptoms that you mentioned are very difficult, but they do fade. It will happen. Okay, and that's like a general response. He was searching for something. He responded to my response. I think this morning it was actually, and brought some things to my attention, which I already knew. And I will boil it down to just like a sentence or two, because he really did not have good things to say about some of the forums and so forth. He's unhappy with on Benzo Buddies. A lot of people give recommendations concerning cold turkey. When you cold turkey, what a lot of people say on there and in some of the Facebook groups is you should never reinstate, even if you cold turkey. Cold turkey is certainly not the best way to go, and I know that's what they do in detox facilities, psych hospitals, mental wards and stuff. They will often take you out very rapidly. Psychiatrists will do that too, and it's not the safest thing to do. It can be done. I've seen it done, and some people, they cold turkey and they can get well, fairly rapidly, but a lot of people, it makes them a whole lot worse. They go into acute withdrawal that seems to never end. Okay, cold turkey. Well, I'll take my own experience first, and there are lots of stories that are similar to my own, and there are stories that differ drastically from my own. I took Klonopin for about 12 years before I quit drinking. The anxiety and panic attacks and stuff were horrible. I got updosed from 1 milligram to 4 milligrams, which sent me into a horrid depression. I was suicidal. I went to the hospital. They did cold turkey me off of 4 milligrams in 3 weeks. And the acute withdrawal was horrendous. It was so severe. I had no choice but to reinstate. Okay, and after like less than a week, I did reinstate. Went back to my original 1 milligram, and then did a reasonable taper. It was rapid, 3 months, just as this person says they did. But it pretty much, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I had not reinstated, if I could have, I'd still be sick probably. It was just so incredibly bad. So, what he's getting at here is, like on Benzo Buddies, a lot of people will say you never ever reinstate. Well, if you're going to reinstate after doing a cold turkey, you got to do it pretty quick. That's what I have seen. For me, it was less than a week. I have seen others within probably like a week or two or so, maybe a few more weeks. You can do it like with somewhat what I will call success. You're not going to feel great again. You'll be in probably tolerance withdrawal, but you won't be in that deep, dark, severe acute withdrawal. Now, that being said, if you're out a pretty good distance from a cold turkey or a very rapid taper, I have noticed a lot of times There are places who, there's one particular individual that I know of who he will always, even if you're out far and you're really suffering, he will get you to reinstate. He will dose you, increase your dose until you are stabilized. And that sometimes will work, but not usually. What happens is the doses start to get so high, I think, and benzos are depressants, so you become depressed, or they go paradoxical on you, and then you're in worse shape than you were because now you're on all these benzos and you can't get off. I don't know. I have seen people reinstate after a considerable amount of time being completely off from a cold turkey. I've seen them reinstate. I've seen them taper then, but suffer. They still suffer greatly, most of them. I've never seen anybody do it smoothly. So this particular individual was upset that, like, he went to Benzo Buddies and everybody's telling. He pointed out another individual in particular, young lady in Germany that I know. She was on, let me think, Ativan, I think is what it was. She was only on for 10 weeks. Her story was interesting because the doctor prescribed, she went there for a headache or something, and he supposedly wanted to prescribe some sort of NSAID or something, but somehow the pharmacy filled it with whatever the German drug is for Ativan. Chemically, it's Ativan. And so she was on it 10 weeks. And like, you know how the story goes, like didn't do well and so forth. And somehow ended up on some antipsychotic too for just a day or two, very short time, which didn't help things. So she's out real far now. And I guess at some point, I didn't really know her until she was off maybe close to a year. I think I've known her about maybe 3 years. So I don't know if, I think she was cold turkey, but apparently the people in Benzo Buddies told her not to reinstate. However, if she had reinstated early on, maybe she would not be, still sick. I don't know. I haven't heard from her in a while. I know she's still, fighting the fight. I know she is, but so he mentioned her. I think his situation is very similar. So I don't. Cold turkey, it's a hard one. And if you're going to reinstate, you got to do it fairly rapidly because, why I believe cold turkey creates such havoc is, it's to me it's like the trauma from ripping it all out of your system all at once. That's an enormous trauma, and probably causes like a type of PTSD, a chemical PTSD. And my feeling is that, and probably like in war situations and other situations where there's violence and so forth, the greater the trauma, the greater the PTSD, I would think. That would seem to be a pretty valid general rule. So I think that's what happens with a cold turkey. That's very, very traumatic. Tapering's traumatic too, to some degree, but I think the less trauma you create in your brain, the better it is as far as like how long your withdrawal will last and how intense your symptoms are. So yeah, you can't, again, like when you go to the forums and Facebook groups, you got to really, really be careful because most of those people are sick too. They're not experts at this. There are no experts at this. That's the problem. So the best you can do is find someone who's been through this, who's been around a while, who has seen stories and can just, like tell the things that this, he or she has observed in others and also their own experience. So that's, I can understand his, he's upset. He's very angry about all of this. When you got, you go to the forums and you get really bad information and you follow it and then you're sick for a really, really long time. It's, I understand that. But cold turkeys, I think if you reinstate fairly rapidly after a cold turkey, I think you have a lot more success than, if you go out and for a long time and you're doing really miserably and then you reinstate. It's not typically very successful and it does not help a whole lot. And sometimes it's actually paradoxical and make things a whole lot worse. Okay, let me see. One other email. This is a fairly short one. Got this one I think this morning actually. It says, "Hi Don, my wife and I were really saddened to hear about the passing of your sister. Our condolences go to you and yours. As you had said in one of your videos, she probably was ready to see her son. Blessings to you and yours." Yes, she did say she's ready to see, Ricky as her son. She's ready to meet him again. Okay, we have a few questions for you. My wife has done a test, the Dutch test, dry urine cortisol test. I'm not quite sure what that is. The results that came back showed that the cycle of cortisol was normal, but very much elevated. The cortisol levels they're diurnal, like they differ throughout the day. They're highest in the morning, like I think right around, probably like shortly after you get up, they tend to be the highest. Okay, they were normal, like the diurnal pattern was normal apparently, but very much elevated, which makes sense. Okay, also the oxidative stress levels were above the normal range. Both of these can cause other issues. She would like to know if the high cortisol and oxidative stress is normal in withdrawal, or should these be addressed with supplements? Have others written about this? We certainly would like to know your thoughts on this. Any information you can give us would be greatly appreciated. Once again, thank you for your continuing support to all of us. Blessings. Okay, cortisol. Yes, cortisol has. I hear about it all the time. You read in the forums. You read about cortisol. Like everybody's cortisol is high, and that's true. It's a steroid hormone. And it does have a diurnal pattern. And mornings, like for me, mornings were very, very bad, like with the anxiety, stress, fear, burning, and so forth. Much, much worse in the morning. And to be honest, like I still can get the burning in the morning, like the physical on my skin sometimes, or internally I can feel. And it's usually always in the morning. So that would kind of go along with, the diurnal thing. And like when you wake up and it's morning, cortisol levels are higher, and you're probably gonna, if you're pretty high, you're gonna feel the symptoms. And I still do feel the physical stuff sometimes. So that's very, very normal in withdrawal. Okay, oxidative stress. Stress and cortisol seem to be related. From what I've read, stress often will create higher cortisol levels, but I think probably just the stress of being in withdrawal creates high cortisol too. That makes sense to me. And many people have written about this. I hear about this all the time. When I was in the forums and Facebook groups, cortisol is that's one of the big subjects that people talk about a lot. That and the glutamate and the GABA and the neurotransmitters. But cortisol is a big one. Yes, so that's what I have here. Yeah, the cold turkey, you got to be careful with that. And I understand this individual's, his anger. I really, really do. Yeah. So that's what I have here. Lately, a lot of endocrine system questions. The endocrine system gets messed up. It's, as I've said before, that I think the endocrine system is actually the fine-tuning system of our bodies. And when it's out of whack, even a little bit, like we feel it, I think, and it affects our thinking, I think, and our feelings greatly. So it's not a surprise that the endocrine system's messed up big time in withdrawal. So that's what I got for today. Got to do some non-benzo stuff here this afternoon and tonight. I do want to reach out to this person who had the stellate ganglion blocked twice and did have success for a number of days, and then it came back. And I think we're talking nerve growth factor there. That would seem to make a lot of sense to me. And see if we can get the ball rolling here. I really, really want to. I get so many emails like these and messages of people who they've been at this a long time. They're like second, third, sometimes fourth year, and it's I mean, enough is enough. We gotta, I can answer all these emails, and I certainly don't mind it, but I know my answers don't make you well. I know that. I wish I had the magic words to do that, but I don't. So we find a way to make you well, way to reverse this, something relatively straightforward and simple, and bingo, you got it, and then people get well and life be good again. So anyway, I'm probably going to be in the house the rest of the day. It's pretty hot outside. It's I think mid 80s or so. It's breezy, but it's hazy again now, and it's kind of humid and nasty. I'd like to take a walk, but I don't want to. I got a shower. I don't want to sweat. You know how that is. So anyway, that's what I have here. I'm almost at 25 minutes. See what else. Be going down to my sister. I think is staying in a hotel now. I think she stayed in one last night, and she will be here as long as it takes to after the funeral to get the things that were my sister's out of their home there, and because I'm sure her husband doesn't want all the dresses and things, and so she'll be here for that long. And I would like to go out and visit her maybe this fall in Wisconsin. I do know some people who are out there in Wisconsin who are in withdrawal. That would be kind of neat to go out there, but I've never been to her where she lives now. She lives in a house. I mean, for years she lived in an apartment out there, but now she's in a house. I would like to get out there and visit her at some point. So anyway, she's gonna be hanging around here a bit longer, I'm pretty sure, and maybe I'll get down there to visit with her again for a couple of days. I don't know. I don't get to see her very often, and now that my older sister's gone, maybe she won't be coming to Pennsylvania anymore. I don't know. She has no really other reason to do so. She's been to our house a few times, but she typically would visit my other sister because my other sister had more issues, I guess, than I do. Although she's never been in benzo withdrawal, but she never was. But anyway, I'll let you go here. Hope you're having a good day. This is Monday, beginning of the week. So hope you're having a good day, and things are going to get better. They really are. It's just, and we're working on finding something to make this go a lot faster and to maybe make it disappear fairly rapidly. That would be awesome. So anyway, as always, I'm right here, and I will be right here. Bye-bye.